We are together again, aiming to be good stewards, to be prosperous, to be wealthy, yes, to be rich. Good stewards will continue their journey through thick, through thin, through cloud, through darkness, whatever the situation, good stewards will be holding on, marching along, knowing that victory is sure. Last video I posted was culture shock, culture shock, what to do. This is very much a continuation. For just about every day, we experience some sort of culture shock through news, through our appearance in some region, or something of the sort. But there is culture shock, culture shock, culture shock. And the big thing is how we adjust to the culture shocks that will come our way. Not that they will not come or we can hinder them. No, they will come. But it's how we adjust to those culture shocks. We can use every culture shock to build resilience and perseverance. In my immediate past video, I gave you some tips as to how I adjusted myself to what was going on around me. Here I have another one to share with you, and I will have some more. So the important thing is for you to follow through with a subscription and quite likely share. And your comment will be much appreciated to stimulate and inspire further development. How do we deal with the culture shocks? Determine our own existence. So follow through. And you might have some ideas, some tips as to how to meet your own culture shock. The one I want to talk about today is a culture shock in the educational sphere. I tried to show you the shocks I had when I moved from Jamaica to the United Kingdom. Now, when I lived in Jamaica as a little boy growing up, I discovered some things about education. Many of us did not achieve educationally because of the lack of schools, lack of funds, lack of encouragement, but we were ambitious. Many of us, somehow we developed some desire to get some education, but it was not there. In my immediate neighborhood, I know of about 6 individuals who managed to climb out with the help of their parents, help of relatives, to get to Buxton. I don't know if the Buxton High School still exists, St. Simon's, Merle Grove, and so on, Dinthill. But not many of us were fortunate to get to those learning institutions. Not lack of brains, as they would say, and ambition, but it was hard to get to those places. Although we did not know the term homeschooling, but that's what helped many of us. Homeschooling. Our parents would read with us. They would impart what they know. They would give us their philosophical statement. They would tell you what the world is all about. They were very, very helpful. And look, this is very, very true. The church, especially the Adventist church, was of great help to many of us. Not only did they teach us to read the Bible and pray, but they helped to open our eyes to the truth of the universe. Yes, there was shortcoming because they knew so much. They were given so much, but they imparted to us faithfully. And at least they tried to help us to realize that we had a mind to be developed. So here are some people pouring scorn and doubt on the church today. But for me, it was a great source of strength. It helped me to understand that education was very, very important. So in my immediate area, we were encouraged to learn a trade, and the trades that were around that time: carpentry, cobbler, that is to repair shoes, tailoring, and so on and so on. Now, when you learn the trade, it was not so much for you to build an industry. It was mainly for you to cooperate with the other people in giving free service, helping to build your community, and so on. So that in itself was very, very good. Very good. So early in my experience, I developed the idea that I need some education. I need to go further than what was being offered. How to get to my choice was to Kingsway High School, operated by the Adventist Church, or West Indies College, um, operated by the Adventist Church again. But we're talking about money. We're talking about a place to live. We're talking about eating and drinking. There was hardly any way. But somehow, one of my brothers and myself discovered a distant learning institution, the Bennett's College. That was The Bennett's College was in Sheffield, in England. Later in life, I discovered that many others started with the Bennett's College. They were outstanding. They were remarkable. I don't think they are still in existence, but at that time they offered just about all of the GCE subjects and the basic subjects that you could think of. I'll tell you something. They did not even realize their own importance, but many of us were blessed. Driven by ambition, audacity, and ignorance, my brother and I registered with the Bennett's College. Listen carefully. I registered for English, English literature, history, geography, religious knowledge, Spanish, and physics. Now we could um, sort of do so much, do so much. Then we had to be our own teachers while we were students. You sit down and you organize your time. That is one of the reasons why my life is so disciplined. You have to set time to study, and you have to make sure your lessons were noted carefully, and the exams that they would give you were fulfilled in time, and then you organize them carefully and send them off by post. And while you're working on other lessons, you're patiently waiting for the answers. They were not giving away anything. You had to study very hard, and you have to get your things right to get a good mark. For us, my brother and myself, it was very, very tough because we had to work, because you have to find the money. They allow us to pay monthly. So they have to work to get that money to send in on time. Then we had to study, and then we were fairly active in our church. That was heavy, but we managed to keep going. We managed to be ahead in all that we were trying to do. But we were not convinced that we were moving as fast, as quick, and as much as we could. So while we were working away at that, with great desire that one day we would pass GCE subjects and we would have degrees. I used to get my little piece of paper and I would write down the degrees I want to have: a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and so on and so on, right up to doctoral degree. Ambition, audacity, and ignorance, driving factors. They were helpful. So, along the way, we discovered that if we get to England, we could move faster because their education was plentiful and for the most part free. Yes, eventually we got to England, and in truth, there was plenty of education all around. So that is where we had the great culture shock. In Jamaica, scarcity was keeping many away from educational development. In England, educational possibilities were plentiful, but there were many, many English children, youngsters, who were not availing themselves of that education. I was shocked to find out that there were English youngsters who could just about read and write. And you said to them, well, why don't you go? No, 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 I can't be bothered with that. That's not for me. That's not for me. I remember when I started working at a certain factory, and I was seeking time off in the evenings because on that job we had to work from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the evening. So I had to put in a petition to get off in the evenings from 5 o'clock so that I could get to the technical college. One of the English chap on the section, he laughed at me. He called his friends together. He said, look, he want to go and study for GC. He think GC is just something like that. To scorn what I was doing, for I was attempting to do something impossible. I was greatly shocked. Education was plentiful, but so was ignorance and dumbness in the English society. I'm not telling you that many were not going. I'm not telling you that many were not doing it. But there was a vast number who would not avail themselves of the education possibilities that were there. I remember a young lady, very beautiful young lady. She noticed that I would sit by myself and I was reading. I mean, you don't have corner to go and hide away, so you have to. So she got near to me and she said, what are you really doing? I said, no, I'm trying to get some GC subject. GC subject? Oh, yes, I'm trying to get some GC subject. What are you doing? I told her the subjects I was doing. Rice pop wide open. I couldn't be bothered with that. But she gravitated towards me and she would come by me very often. But that stirred envy in the heart of some others who were watching. I was greatly shocked about education in England. But what did I do? Because I had the ambition, I had the audacity, I had the ignorance, and so I was driven. There was that something that was saying, you must not remain as you are. You must gain education. So what did I do? First of all, I tried to find my niche. Find a place where you could go and study. Eventually, I ended up at the Matthew Bolton Technical College. Again, that was an outstanding institution. I don't know if it is still in existence. I do believe it is, but it was helpful. And so I would be at Matthew Bolton in the evenings and I would work with them. I would study hard. I spend my lunchtime going to buy textbooks and what have you. So I try to find my niche and I try to register for the subjects that I think was very, very important and necessary. I was not seeking education mainly to get a job. I was seeking to expand my mind, to grasp the realities of life. Yes. And so I had to do something, find my niche. And then we pursued that education with a passion. Night and day, I was at it. On the bus, on my legs. It was tough going. Then I linked with others with similar ambition. Not many of us, but there were those of us who believe that we were not just in existence for what was going on around us. We could better our situation, our person, by gaining education. So find some of those. I remember one young man from St. Kitts. We would study together. We would discuss our ambitions together. We would look at the goals ahead of us. We look at what we want to do in life. And so we would work together. And there were quite a few others that we managed to work together. So we kept our eyes and the goals before us. I remember one youngster, that fellow, he was not brilliant, but he decided that he wanted to be a lawyer. And he would work at it. Every class he was there and he would work away. I didn't manage to keep up with him after a time. We get disconnected. I would have liked to know if Vivian Parks had achieved the goal. He had a passion. And so that was keeping us. And then we dismiss the trivialities around us. We discover that many were very trivial. Yes, some of the guys they would read their they would get their newspapers and they would be in their newspapers. But what were they working with? The sport pages, the sport pages, and they would cover the sport pages, the football, the dog race, uh, different games. When they check with you and you say, no, well, I don't have time for that, they think you were strange. But they were strange. So we dismiss all of those trivialities. And I'll tell you something, we had to dismiss some of the hatred because, especially from my English colleagues, they learned to dislike me. Mhm. And the Irish too, they learned to dislike me because they realized I was studying. They think I was wasting time, but at the same time, they realized that something was in the lad, and so it was despised. I remember one Irishman, he was partly in charge of what we were doing on that section, but he would pile the work on me, pile the work on me. But I managed to keep going. And then we learned to harness our fears. Yes, fears were there. What if so and so did not come about? But we said, no, that fear is not going to govern our life. It's going to drive us to make sure that what they were thinking would happen would not happen. So we didn't succumb to pressure or fears. And then, for me, for my brother, and for some others, we had a fervent belief in divine help. And so we would stay close to our Bibles. We would be in church, yes, although it was hard and tough going, but we stood by our church and we would be there participating and doing all that we could. And then for me, I discovered that I must be myself. When you know who you are, not very easy, but when you put your trust in the divine, it is revealed to you gradually, progressively, who you are. Be yourself. I did not seek to be like them. Many of our West Indian peers, they had succumbed to the cultural difference. the cultural difference they met there. But some of us decide that no, we were going to achieve. And just about all of us who believe that we must achieve, just about all of us achieve and manage to get good education because it was there. It was plentiful. But you see, we did not grow up in the system. We were getting into the system. So, like, when many of us arrived there, we were gone past the age where we could do 11 plus, get to secondary school, get to high school. So, one of the main avenues for us was the technical college. That is where you learn machines and this, that, and the other. But they were also offering academic work. So we were able to get in and to work hard, to manage our affairs carefully, to look after our pennies, and to achieve and become good stewards. Many of us prosperous stewards. The wealth, it will always be growing. We have no wealth to boast about. We're not boasters, really. But if you think of wealth in its real form, many of us were wealthy. So, as usual, I will say to you, be wise and prosper today. Did you remember to subscribe? Well, we'll catch you in the next video. Be a good steward and help those around you to be good stewards. Some things that some people say are impossible. If you set yourselves to do them, you will find that it is possible. See you in the next video.